Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
All right, it's day 22. I'm super excited about today because Martin promised a real banger today.
Because
he was super hyping it on the last episode, saying this is going to be the beer to end all beers.
It might not be the beer to end all beers. That might be tomorrow's or the day after tomorrow. But this one, I know it. This one is going to be a home run.
It's going to be a really home run. All right, I'm going to open it now. Let's see what we got. No point in delaying this. We're 30 seconds in. And, I see a Prairie Artisan on there. It is a Snickerdoodle Vanilla Noir.
Yeah,
that is very promising. It's funny because I almost got a Prairie Artisan for the show, for the calendar as well. But decided not to because, dear God, they're so expensive.
I know.
It is ridiculous.
This one cost about $100,000 million.
Basically, yeah. And what's so weird is when you go to like Oklahoma, and you're at Krebs or you're at Oklahoma City or Tulsa, and you're like, oh, I'll pick up some Prairie Artisan. It's also about the same price. Like the markup for international shipping, which you think would add at least like 50 crowns, say $5 or nope. It's like $17 in the US. It's like $20 overseas. It's always expensive. So what you're paying is pretty much what you're going to pay in the US when you're buying it overseas. But it's just an overall expensive individual beer. It's ridiculous.
So this is Vanilla Noir Snickerdoodle, right?
Yes. I should have read. So it's a bourbon barrel aged because all of their beers are bourbon barrel aged. Snickerdoodle, chai cookies and vanilla.
I don't know what chia cookies are.
I don't know. I know what chia is. Chia is quinoa.
Quinoa? No.
Yeah. Same thing. So they used to have this thing called chia pets in the States.
Yeah.
Chia, C-H-I-A. Maybe this is a different reference, but chia is it's basically quinoa.
Okay.
That you would wet and then you would spread on your sheep or
and then stuff would grow.
And then it would grow, right? Then it would sprout and grow.
Yeah. And that would lead to like hair, or if it was a hedgehog, it would look like
exactly something along those lines.
But this one is bourbon barrel aged,
right? Because they're always basically bourbon barrel aged, aren't they? I mean, it's...
whenever you and I have these kind of stub nose bottles from Prairie, they're always bangers, with one exception, and it was some kind of cookie.
Oh, it was an Oreo thing they put out that I had like 3 times, and every time I was like, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever had in my life.
But that's
for such a high profile beer. But everyone else loved it. They were like 4.5, and I was like, no, this is like a 2 at best. This is garbage. So I'm curious. They said it's a Snickerdoodle, so there should be some cinnamon notes on this. Snickerdoodle is a cinnamon sugar cookie, basically.
Definitely smells like bourbon barrels.
It's bourbon barrels. That's all I'm getting off of this.
Yeah,
it's kind of a dry bourbon barrel smell.
Don't get that much. Maybe like graham cracker.
It's light though, but this could be one that needs to maybe breathe a little bit. But we're gonna just because it's not cold.
It's a good temperature.
It's temperature wise, it's perfect. I think for serving. But it maybe needs to aerate a little bit to kind of let it burn off some of those alcohol notes and get into the other thing. Because again, these are not low ABV beers. This should be somewhere around 12 or 13%.
It is
14.4. Yeah, that's a big beer. It's one of our higher ABV beers for the calendar.
Let's try it.
Jump into this. Love the mouthfeel. It's got that Prairie bomb, just real richness. A lot of chocolate. More
chocolate than I expected.
So much chocolate on this beer. Like you would almost think this is a chocolate stout of some sort. It is insanely chocolate. But then you get that light cinnamon, kind of like the Tuol Mexican hot chocolate.
It's not that dissimilar.
It's pretty close. You're not getting chili on this, but the mouthfeel is a lot richer, which I think makes the beer a little more interesting, a little more fun. But it's a solid beer.
I just now looked at the label.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with a man. His hands are tied behind his back, and he's in a chair, and he's scared. And there's a dark figure that's threatening him
With cookies and milk.
Cookies and milk. And then the man who's tied, he gets super angry, and you focus in on his eyes because you see that the bad guy is dipping his cookies in milk. And that makes the captured man so angry, he breaks free, knocks the criminal out, and just leaves. Because he gets so offended by this milk, this cookie into milk dunking. That's pretty fun.
It tells a good story. I like that. I wish more beers would do a Bazooka Joe kind of cartoon on their labels. Just a simple 2 or 3 panel cartoon that tells a short story of some sort. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a good story because, as we all know, Bazooka Joe comics. If Bazooka Joe is a gum, and then when you open the gum, there's a little wrapper around the piece of gum with a little slight cartoon on it.
1, 2, or 3 panel strip, right?
I think it's always 2 or 3 panels. I don't think it's ever one panel, but yeah, and it's always just the worst joke or the worst whatever. I wish more beers would have that kind of packaging because that would be so much fun.
The flavor on this is pretty...
And if you got the whole year would tell a story.
Oh,
but
the lore of Bazooka Joe.
Right. So the individual beers would have their own little plot line, kind of Garfield minus Garfield or something like that, So it would the overall. But then if you were to read everything back to back, you've got all the beers from the brewery in the year. I want to open a brewery now and just do that. Can we do this? We need to talk to Marcus.
Exactly. This beer is pretty aggressive in its flavor.
It is.
It's punching me in the face with chia cookies. You don't know what it is, but it tastes like it.
Yeah, I mean this is very snickerdoodly. I do get the sugar and the cinnamon and a lot of chocolate on this.
Do you like snickerdoodles?
I don't think anyone loves snickerdoodles. It's a good cookie. I mean, it's a cinnamon sugar cookie. You're not going to go wrong. But no one's boy, what I'm really craving is some fucking snickerdoodles. No one's ever said that in their life. But at the same time, it's a tasty cookie. Yeah. Nothing wrong with snickerdoodle. I think snickerdoodle ice cream is probably a little bit better than the actual snickerdoodle. Every snickerdoodle in something is always better than just a cookie itself. It'll always be a better experience. But yeah, it's a really nice beer. I quite enjoy this.
Me too. I don't know what to give it, but I have a small anecdote. I'm trying to remember it because it was back in October. I drank beers with Pontus and Marcus, friends of the show.
Yeah, there's a slight marzipan-y kind of flavor to it as well.
There is. I agree. But it was a beer, and they didn't write out Oreos. Imperials, it was Angry Chair The Vast. Imperial Sweet Stout with those black and white cream-filled cookies and pistachios. So they didn't dare to write out Oreos.
Right, because they got to pay licensing fees.
Yes, or get sued.
Or they could say Hydrox, which came before Oreos. That was the original Oreos, Hydrox. Ooh. But Hydrox is always considered the inferior version of the Oreo.
But here, Snickerdoodle can't be that trademarked.
It's not a brand, it's a style. It's like saying chocolate chip cookie. So it's like a chocolate chip cookie. A Snickerdoodle is a type of cookie.
Whoever originally made it has kind of lost control of it.
It was probably some, before, so if a cookie manufacturer came out with their own version of Snickerdoodles, it would be a branded version of the Snickerdoodle, not the cookie itself. So when you go to the store and you buy Chips Ahoy, Chips Ahoy's chocolate chip cookie, it's just a branded version of the chocolate chip cookie.
Right. So having said, I did say that this was going to be a home run, an automatic home run. Now I'm scared to ask you what you actually think about it.
I'm going to round up to a 4.5.
Ooh, that is good.
Yeah.
I was fearing that you would say 4.
No, I think it's really good, and it is one of these things. It's again, because we only grade by the 0.25s.
Yeah,
it's really like a 4.4 for me. But I'm just going to round up to 4.5. I think it's a really, really great beer.
That's
I think,
where it is for me as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even as low as 4.3, but it gets murky when you compare the aroma to the flavor to the aftertaste.
Yeah.
Which should you base your rating on?
For me, I think
Aftertaste is so important.
when I start getting into the 4.5, 5.5, it's the overall experience from the smell to the initial taste to the mouthfeel to the aftertaste. Like, does it take me on do I feel the complete journey of the beer? And I will say where this beer does fall a little flat is on the nose.
Yes.
The nose is a little dry. It's a little dusty kind of smelling. But I think it's mostly from probably the bourbon barrels. But when you drink the beer itself, it's like, whoa, there's so much going on in this glass. And then the aftertaste is just silky and rewarding and flavorful and like just a complete experience.
Yeah, there's a distinct flavor difference between the flavor and the aftertaste.
Yeah.
And I always look for that in beers. I don't want the aftertaste to just be the same as the taste but slightly less. I want it to change. Because that's when then I don't want to take another sip until the flavor has done its complete journey.
Exactly. And that's what I think works so well with sweets. Because when you got that really tart passion fruit and kiwi,
Yes.
and then like once you let it like settle and you could like get over the tartness, then you got the marshmallow, and then you were like a couple of minutes and you're like, well, let me have another drink of this, and then you take it and you're like, ooh, that's got a bit of a kick to it, and then it's just like vanilla marshmallow at the end, and it really completes a journey, through the process.
But having you round up to 4.5 makes me really happy, because that's what I've been aiming for with a lot of these beers. And I'm going to do the same. It's a weak 4.5.
Yeah.
But it's good.
I'm there with you.
These kind of Prairie Imperial Stouts, they never really miss the mark. Except for that one time.
One fucking Oreo one. But I would say overall, yeah, the Prairie Stouts, I mean, there's a reason why they're so expensive. And they're pretty good by and large. It's just, what is your appetite for the cost?
Yeah.
That's really what really leaves me out a lot of the times.
Exactly. And this one is about 3 months old.
Yeah.
Because when I saw it, I knew I was going to save it for the calendar. I bought it and I saved it secretly in my fridge.
Well, what's interesting is Prairie started with like a really strong souring program.
Yeah.
And then Chase left and started American Solera, and it kind of crippled their souring projects quite a bit. And you don't really see much coming out of Prairie except for these imperial stouts.
That's true.
I mean, sure, they do release like some, we'll call them kettle sours, and they do release a few other beers here or there.
Hey, like Blueberry Boyfriend.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's so thin.
It's so bad. But we've had the cowboy thing from them.
Right.
The cherry pie cowboy.
Yeah.
That was earlier in the calendar, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
But I really feel like they figured out how to make really good stouts, and that's really where their wheelhouse is, and that's where they just go to over and over again and just crank out. They got their base stout, and then just crank out 100 variants of that.
Yes.
Every year. And they're usually pretty damn good.
I definitely agree.
Especially their, the Pirate series?
You're all right. Pirate
the rum barrel aged beers that they have.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll wrap this up.
2 more days.
2 more days. So excited. I can't wait to see what we're doing tomorrow. All right. And so until next time.
Keep drinking, you dum-dums.